Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Carolina and this is a channel where I mainly talk about cross stitch. I hope you're doing well today, and if you're new, thank you for coming to check me out, see what my stitching is all about, and if you're returning, thanks so much for coming back. So today is Friday, October 20th, 2023. However, by the time this gets up, my project was about to fall. By the time this gets up, it might be like a few days later, so this should be available probably by the 23rd or so, because last time I totally forgot about like editing time and exporting the file and then uploading the file. So yeah, gotta do all that. But yeah, it's been about 3.5 weeks since my last update, so I have a little bit to show you, but not a whole ton, since I am trying to focus on a few projects at a time. I do have 2 finishes, which I'm pretty excited about. One is expected. You saw it in my last video. I was almost done with it. So if you did see that, you already kind of know what it is. The other one was kind of a surprise finish, so I'm really excited to share that one with you. I have some progress to show you on some other projects. I have starts, actually have 4 starts, but that is unusual for me. It really is because for my birthday I decided to start 3 things and then I ended up jumping in on a last minute sale. But yeah, so not too upset about that because I'm not planning on having many starts for a while. I'll start stuff here and there, but I'm not like a super huge starter, just at this point anyway, because I'm trying to really like whip down and stuff. But yeah, so I have that to share with you. Throughout the video, I'll probably talk about plans because there were some plans I completely blanked on last time that I wanted to start up. It was something new that I'm doing, so that could be part of the reason of that. And I was kind of sick. I'm still a little bit sick, definitely on the getting better side for sure. But I think the combination of like it'd been a long time since I'd done a video, it was kind of last minute thing I decided to do, and I was sick. I forgot to mention like half of my October plans, so I'll touch on those. And of course I have Flosstube Itchy Nose because why not? And then I have some Stitchy purchases to share with you. Most of these are really birthday money that I used for Stitchy stuff. But I do have some things that I'll hopefully have in November at some point to share with you, so I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and jump in with the 2 finishes first. Alright guys, so I am going to get started with the finishes. The first one is pretty expected if you watched my last video. I have also shared this on Instagram and Facebook as well. This is the stocking for my nephew. I am hiding the name, but it is there. So here it is. You can see the border there. All that's missing is a strip with the name and then another one of these red and green lines with the gold. And I managed to add the beads because all the cross stitching was done except for the name. So I added the beads and the back stitch. And you can see there where we are. So yay! I mentioned this last time, but I did change out... Let me see if I did change out the clothes here on the snowman and the penguins. I just wanted to be a little bit more colorful and diverse, so I'm really happy with that. Other than that, I used the kit floss, which DesignWorks isn't necessarily my favorite. I think the lengths are just a little bit too long for what I like and they get tangled a little bit easily, but I'm not one to just waste them, so I just made it work. I didn't want to cut them though because then they'd be too short, so it was like catch-22 there. But the colors are just leftover floss from other kits that I had. And the presents are actually mostly DMC colors. I did keep the red, green, and yellow color scheme. I just used different hues of it. So slightly darker or slightly lighter so that it wouldn't be too crazy and hodgepodgey. I still wanted it to be pretty cohesive and kind of follow the design, but I just didn't want to use the same red, green, and yellow all over, especially because like it's used in so many places here. And it's used in so many places here with the windows and the tree, and I just thought it'd be too much. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I did make one of the presents blue, which is a change. But yeah, I don't mind that too much as far as a difference. I think it like makes it look good, and I don't know, it fits better with the theme. And I, like I mentioned last time, I did modify the mailbox a little bit. There's a bow here I didn't include because I just thought it looked like too much, and then I made the candy all red instead of being red, green, and yellow. So yeah, I am happy with this finish. I'm pleasantly surprised. It took me about a month and a half, but I did mainly monogamy stitch on it. It's really encouraged me to like kind of have this idea and follow through on the fact that I really want to whip down in 2024 and a little bit here at the end of the 2023. Honestly, I have a few projects that I'm focusing on. I do have whip go goals. I'm doing whip tack-toe as I mentioned last time, so like a version of whip go here. I am also participating, I totally forgot last time, that I'm doing the cross sticks for 24 hours of cross stitch and magazine monthly challenge in October. So the magazine monthly challenge one is self-care and the theme is retreat, and then the 24 hours of cross stitch is off top of head. So in fact the September block on the next finish I'm going to show you, which I kind of gave you a little hint there because it's a monthly pattern, was in the self-care. I didn't put Penguin Party because at that point I was done. I finished it within the first few days of October, but other projects I'm going to show are part of the acrostic, so I will share that as they come up. But yeah, I am really encouraged to have one or maybe two focus pieces a month to either get a ton of progress or potentially finish. I'd have like three that I'd like to finish by the end of this year. I don't know if it's realistic to finish all three, not counting the stockings, so technically that'd be four. But they're either small or there's not a lot left in them, so I think I can make that happen. Right now I'm at 36 whips. I did have some starts like I mentioned in the intro, but that's very rare. I don't mind starting stuff and just leaving it not necessarily be an active whip. But yeah, I kind of want to have between 20 and 30. I know 36 is not that far off, especially considering there's some long-term projects in there, which I'm kind of not counting because like my ideal, I think, whip number would be 20 plus some long-term stuff. So that could be 5 long-term projects, it would be 10 long-term projects. So I'm like between 20 and 30. But I think I'd like to have around 20 like whips that I'm really trying to get done. So yeah, so that's my thought with that. But anyway, I am digressing. I do have one other finish to show you, and I'm super excited about it because it was my surprise finish. I picked this up at the beginning of October, right when I finished my stocking, and I got it done, and it is my Palco Sal. Palco's a Hungarian website. I'm not sure if Palco's just the website or the designer or the last name of the designer, because it was all in Hungarian and I didn't see a translate feature, but this was kind of making the rounds in the Facebook groups and on Flosstube as well in that 2015-2016 area. I thought I'd start this in 2016, but when I went to go check it off in my list of like projects, it was 2017. So I guess I must have seen it and planned for it in 2016 and decided to start it in 2017. But let's show you what it's about. So it's a monthly Sal, and I've got my blocks there. As you can see, I use variegated thread. I had left off on the August block, and I worked on that in March of 2021. And when I picked it up, I finished it up. I took this on a work trip. I had a trip at the beginning of October, and I decided to take this with me as my only project because I had all the patterns in the plastic folder. I had all the flosses there, and I'm like, this will be relatively easy to work on. Not necessarily mindless stitching, but not super complex stitching, if that makes sense. And one of the reasons I picked this up, okay, so I've been organizing my craft room, home office, craft room, my room here at the house. That's for me. I have my home office set up, but I do also have like crafts, pens, drawing stuff, coloring stuff, yarn, all of that stuff is here. And I think because I hadn't been stitching, I really wasn't as motivated to get it organized, and I finally got to the point where I'm like, I want to organize this out, and I made a good bit of progress, and I have an idea in my head of what I want everything to be like, but I haven't focused on it as much because I really need to get these stockings done. So I think once I get my second stocking done, I will feel comfortable, you know, whenever I have time to myself, like maybe for 15-20 minutes, organize a little bit, then stitch. Of course, sometimes I might just want to stitch, but I really do want to try and get the room organized. But my cross stitch whips are all organized, and as you guys may have seen, I keep them in these plastic vinyl folders, which preview of one of the starts there. But I had all of those organized. I try to put them in chronological order, and I saw the folder for this project, and I was like, okay, it's there. The charts are there for the months that I still needed to do. The flosses were all there, including the old flosses of the charts I'd already finished, like the months I'd already finished. I even had a scrap that I cut off this fabric to you know, cut it to size in there, but no project. And I was like, okay, that's weird. I'm usually pretty good about putting it back in there if I'm not working on it. So where could it be? And I was like, well, maybe it's in my closet, because when I did move and like I put everything away, everything was packed, I was like, well, I'm gonna keep like 4 or 5 projects out in like their little tote bags or whatever I was keeping them in, that are relatively easy to pick up, just so if I want to stitch, which I probably will, I'll have something to stitch on. And I was fairly certain this was one of the projects, so I'm like, maybe it's over there, but I'm like, but the flosses are here. So anyway, I looked, I couldn't find it. I could not find this anywhere. I thought it was gone. I was like, could I possibly have put it somewhere where it got thrown away in the move? Like, could I have, I'm like, there's no way I would have let that happen. Like, I would have put it somewhere safe, not somewhere where it could potentially get mistaken for like something that needs to be thrown away. And I was like, it's gotta be just the project then. I thought maybe it was in a bag or something, but I'm like, well, maybe it got folded up somewhere, and I don't know. So I looked everywhere, and I went through the extremes of like, I'm sure it's gonna show up, to, oh my gosh, it's gone, I'm gonna have to restart it, this sucks, or like just forget about it and never finish it. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, I was looking through a cabinet, and I can kind of come to the conclusion, I'm like, okay, my plan is I'm going to finish organizing it, whether that is in the next month or in the next 5 months. When I'm truly done organizing my room, if it hasn't shown up, maybe I'll restart it then. I was looking through one of my cabinets, and I found it. It was folded up all the way in the back of a drawer. I had looked through this cabinet, but somehow missed it. So I just like knew I had to stitch it when I found it. And I thankfully finished it. So basically I had a work trip at the beginning of October, and I took this with me. Like I said, I'd done the August, so I did all of September, all of October, and about half of November. So then when I got back, I did go ahead and finish November and December. So really quick, January, which is a Mo's sale, I'm pretty sure. No, I'm definitely sure that's a Mo's sale. February and March are DMC variegated. April and May are Weeks Dye Works, which I picked out at the cross stitch cupboard. Whoop whoop, shout out. June, I feel like it's a Jodery Designs floss or a Mo's sale, but it might be Jodery Designs, I think. July, August, and September are all Weeks Dye Works. Initially, I wanted to do it all in Weeks Dye Works, and I was at the cupboard with friends, like asking them for help picking colors out, but I just couldn't quite find a color for every single month. So that's why I had to supplement with some other variegated threads, and it worked out fine. So July, August, September are Weeks Dye Works. October is the outlier. It's in a Dinky Dyes. November is DMC Colorist, and December is also Weeks Dye Works. So and October is the only one where I strategically cut it so that the pumpkins would be orange. I just thought it would look nicer. The other ones I just like let the colors fall where they may as I stitched. For the borders, I just picked a DMC color that matched one of the colors in the variegated and used that, except for October, because of the hand-dyed silk. I couldn't find one that worked except for the orange, really, and the orange looked a lot like the November border, and that wouldn't look very good because I'd have 2 oranges side by side. So thankfully the lengths of the variegation within that Dinky Dyes were really long, so I think I used 2.5 bits of it to get the green. No, it's really neon-y, so you can't tell as much as the other ones, but yeah, so I am super happy. I'm so glad I finished. Don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's probably gonna go in my bag of finishes for now, but eventually I'd like to do something with it, maybe a wall hanging or a not so expensive frame and get it framed myself. But I am happy that it's done. It's one less whip. Yeah, I'm just so excited that like I'm really realizing if I take the time to really focus on one project, I can get it done pretty quickly if there's not a lot left, or I can get a lot of progress on it. I've always been a pretty fast stitcher, thankfully. So even though I don't always have all the time in the world to stitch, I can pretty much get a lot done if I really set myself to it. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully finishing a couple more projects here for the rest of the year. Maybe at least 2 more, 3 more if you count the other stocking I have. But aside from the stocking, I'd like to finish 2 more projects of my own. If I could get 3 more projects in, that'd be awesome. But I guess we'll see. So as I mentioned, I was doing the October monthly acrostics for the 2 different Facebook groups. So Palco Block was on there for for September, in Self-Care for Magazine Monthly Challenge, and then in the 24 hours cross stitch I use one of the O's off the top of head for October, for the head D December, and then November I fit it in by picking an F and putting, like, I'm using a 4-color variegated floss, which I thought was fair because most of the colors I use have 3 colors in the variegation. There are some with 4, but most of them have 3. So I thought 4-color variegation would be a good way to connect it into the acrostic. So I was able to use all 4 remaining squares for those acrostics. So that was very exciting. But yeah, so those are my 2 finishes. I think I'm going to go with progress on whips next, and then I'm going to do the starts last. And then of course stitchy acquisition. So yeah. Alright, so next I have the whips. I do have 3. I thought I said I had 2, but I ended up working on one of my whip goggles, and I thought I wasn't going to get to it before the video, but I did. So that project is Northern Lights, Caroline Manning. It's from her Shooting Star collection. So I know it's not the best lighting, but you can get the general idea of the project. It's got beautiful blues, purples, and greens. And I added a little bit of the light blue. So this is on Nerdtube, which is kind of a preview of my stitchy acquisitions. And I left it on there just so you could see. It's super tight. It keeps it nice and tight. I had a hard time the first time I used it. This size, the smaller size I'm also using, and it worked just fine. So I think maybe the fabric I was using just like wasn't working, but this one's holding it just fine. So I got these in this color, even though I really wanted the purple because it was like $4 cheaper and I was trying to stretch out my birthday money. But what I might do is I might get my 2 favorite sizes, one in blue and one in purple, to have an extra. Especially when I'm working on multiple projects at once, it's nice to keep them and not have to take them out and switch them all the time. Though I am trying to focus on less projects, but they're not very expensive. It was just cheaper to get the set, so I wanted to get a set to start with and then maybe buy individual ones from there. But yeah, so I added the blue, this light blue here, and then here at the bottom it was like almost 600 stitches. I don't remember exactly how many it was. There's a lot more of light blue in the project, but I just wanted to do a little bit to meet my whip goggles, and I also included them in the acrostic. So yeah, I was very happy with that. I may add a little bit more before I put it away. Maybe do a little bit of filling in. Since I'm stitching it asymmetrically, I kind of like, once I commit to like getting some of it done, I want to make sure it's done all the way throughout. Thankfully that was just at the top and bottom, so maybe I'll fill in like something around in the middle or something. I don't know, I haven't decided, but yeah, we'll see. I'll probably leave it out for the rest of the month in case I want to add a little bit more. But yeah, very happy with that. Not a priority this year, but I think I will take it out next year. And maybe finish it, maybe not. It's not one that I'm like super rushed to finish. I have others I think I'd like to finish, but I definitely want to work on it for sure. I think next year I want to make a point to like work on all my projects at least one time. And the next one I have, sorry, that was like very quick transition. The next project I have to share is my Busilla. I didn't do it. Counted cross stitch kit. It's It's a little puppy. Still haven't decided what I'm going to do about this. I think I'm just going to stitch some of the blue and like leave the line and not stitch this whole thing because I never really liked it very much. I don't know, it just never, I never was like, yeah, I want to stitch that. So, but I also don't want to cut it off right at the puppy, so I might do something where maybe I just stitch some of the dark blue to the light blue and make that be the chair or whatever it is that the puppy's peeking out of. But I actually got a good amount of progress on this. It went pretty quickly, and at first I was like, this isn't one that's a priority, but I think what I might do, and as I work on projects, it'll kind of help me decide how I want to approach them. But for this one, I think if I take it out for like a few days every month, I can have it done by the end of next year. Like I don't necessarily want to focus on it and not work on anything else just to get it done, but I would like to get it done next year. So I think if I work on it a little bit every month, I can get it done. And you know what's funny? I brought this to my lunch crafting at work, and I guess I had it like this. And she's like, oh, you finished your stocking and you're working on your bird now? And I was like, bird? And I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it kind of does. Especially I had less stitches there, so it just kind of looked like the start of a beak. And I was like, I guess it kind of does if you're not thinking about it. I don't know. But yes, that was funny. But I'm like, no, it's a puppy. And why does that look... Oh no, that's correct. I don't know, just noticed a look funky looking spot, but it looked fine. So I actually got a lot done. I filled in a bit of the ear down here. I got a ton done at the top. I did get the eye done, which if you see the back there's a lot of like, because there's so few stitches of the blacks and grays, but it looks pretty good. And I got some of the fur on top done, so I got way more than I thought, which is why I'm like, I can totally finish this fairly quickly if I take it out a few days a month. So I think that's going to be the plan. And this is on the small nerd tube. So this is the small. This is the medium. So I have, you know, could do, I have the large and the extra small. I'm not sure what I'm going to use the extra small for, but it is what it is, you know. So yeah, we shall see. But yeah, I'm super happy with the progress on that little guy. I might leave him out because I definitely hit my Whip Go goals. I also used him in the acrostics for a few of the letters as well. So I finished like basically all of the prompts there. Thankfully the acrostics is very like do it yourself. So I did, you know, like 100 stitches or an hour, something very realistic because I know I have to work on this stocking. Then next year I can be a little bit more ambitious with those goals. But for now, just a little bit to get some progress, and I'm super happy with it. The last whip is of course my Enchanted Ornament Stocking Dimensions Gold Collection. This is what it looks like, or what it will look like when it's done. And I just have this part left, and I'm excited because the leaves are a little bit bigger, so it should go faster. At least I'm hoping. But I managed to finish all the heel. Because it is still on my roller frame, I am leaving it there. I'm not going to take it off, but I did record a clip where I show you the progress, so I'm going to go ahead and insert that here. All right, so here is the update on the stocking. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited that I finished the heel, including the background. I haven't done the back stitch. I'm going to do that all at the end. Just because like with the ornament and everything, like I want all the stitches to be done before I do the back stitch, so I'm not trying to like wiggle the legs of the cross stitches underneath the back stitch. So I figured it'd just be easier to do it at the end. I don't think it's going to take horribly long. I mean, compared to all the work, but like, let me tell you, this kind of took some time. I'm sorry if the light is changing here a bit. I'm trying to angle it, keep the angle the same, but the leaves and the berries have so many different colors. It's insane. Like these red berries here, there's like 5 colors in those for those tiny little berries. It's bananas. I mean, it looks amazing, and I guess that's part of why, but sometimes I'm like, did I really need 5 colors? Like there's 2 dark reds, 2 regular reds, and like this light pinky color. And honestly, with like the medium, or your regular red, I feel like I could have just used one red instead of two and you wouldn't even know. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna trust the designer, trust the pattern. I'm just gonna do it. But like, it was a lot of work just for those dang berries. Obviously, it'll look a lot better once it's backstitched, but I'm really happy. Again, at some point I must have miscounted because I kind of had to like fudge the background a little bit. But I think I pretty much got like the gaps for the most part where they need to go, so it kind of still looks kind of like I think it's supposed to look like snowflakes, but not really, because it's not just snowflakes, but there is like a pattern to it. It's not just like random splotches of this like light teal blue. So I think it looks pretty good. I'm really excited to get the toe done, and hopefully I'll be able to get that done soon. I'm really wanting to get this done before the end of October, but like the other day when I was working on the berries, I was getting a little burnt out on it, and I like felt it, and I had to take a break. And then when I came back to it, it was like, it was fine. So maybe just making sure I take enough breaks if I need them. I think what's left is relatively quick, at least compared to the heel. Like I feel like everything in the toe has more of the same color, like it's a more zoomed in leaf or whatnot, and bigger berries. I don't think there's any more red berries. I think there's just white berries. So not ripe berries essentially. And they're bigger, so I'm hoping that that'll make it go faster. So I guess we'll see. I don't know if I'll have it done by the next time I update, but there will be progress by the next time I update at the very least. Like I said, my final kind of deadline is Thanksgiving, so I can give them to my aunt then so she can have them fully finished for Christmas. But I am hoping that I can give it to her a little bit sooner, just so she has a little bit more time and all of that. But yeah, so that is where that's at. Alright, so you have seen the progress on the stocking. That is all the whips I have to share with you. So I am going to move on to my starts, which for this video is going to be pretty long. Hopefully won't be the case in future videos. And then we have Stitchy acquisitions to wrap it all up. Alright guys, so my starts. This is going to be unnaturally long because of my birthday starts. But still fun to share, excited to share. So initially I was just going to start Summer Fairy, but I decided to start all three because I do have fall, spring, and summer. As of now, there has been no Winter Fairy release. These are all artwork by Ruth Sanderson, charted by Dimensions Gold Collection. This is Fall Fairy, the one I've had the longest. I thought I bought it myself, but I almost think that maybe my husband got it for me for a birthday, which would be cool if he did, because then all three of these would have been birthday gifts. One from him, one from my sister-in-law, one from my mother-in-law. But I'm not 100% sure on that. So either way, one I've had, which was Fall Fairy, and the two were relatively, well, one is a super recent. The Summer Fairy was a 2023 birthday present. Spring Fairy was, I believe, a 2019 birthday present. So yeah, so I started this one first. I actually ended up starting her on the 28th, which worked out for the best because I was so sick. I recorded on the 27th because I think I was just so excited I mustered up the energy to do that. But really, I probably should have just rested because I kind of like fell kind of sick. So I'm glad I started her on the 28th because the 29th I ended up sleeping a lot. So I did start spring and summer on the 29th, but I worked on spring on the 29th and summer started on the 29th, but mainly worked on her on the 30th. So yeah, so anyway, this is where Fall Fairy ended up. I was going to do an hour on each, all on the 29th, but as I mentioned, that didn't really work out. But this ended up working out better because I was able to do about 3 hours-ish of work. And I did most of this on the 28th and finished it up the morning of the 29th. I'm super happy with she worked out. I wasn't like timing it or anything. What I did was that I ended up kind of like eyeing the clock here and there, but really just when I felt that it got to like a good amount of progress, like a significant start, I was like, okay, I'm ready to move on to the next one. And I'm really happy I did that. It worked out really well. So I don't have specific plans of when I want to finish, but I do have an idea of how I'd like to work on these next year. So I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to have kind of like a seasonal sale with them. So for the 13 weeks of the corresponding season, I will pull it out and work on it at least 1 hour a week. I definitely see myself working on it more, but I'm trying to keep my goals very realistic. So I think that working on it, you know, during those seasons should see a lot of progress, especially if I do end up working more than 1 hour a week on them, which I expect I will. And then we'll see where they end up next year. And then I'll see like if I want to keep doing that again in 2025, or I just want to try and focus on working on them. I may also pull them out for challenges or something. I probably won't put them on the Whip Go board since they're going to be, you know, out 13 weeks of the year. But if like an acrostic or something like that comes up where they fit in, I might pull it out and do a little bit of work. As long as the goal is realistic and not super huge, it should totally work out fine. So the next one, of course, is Spring Fairy. I say of course, like I could have just shown Summer Fairy, but this is what Spring Fairy looks like. I did it in the order I had received them. So Fall Fairy I had the longest. I started with that one, then Spring, then Summer. Also because like the excitement building up to Summer, which has all my favorite colors. So this one has really gorgeous colors too. So they're all great. But that one, I probably worked on the least. It still has a good amount of progress, but I definitely worked on it the least. I felt good. I mean, I kind of wanted to keep going, but at the same time, I felt good with how it ended up. I started in the middle of her dress there. So like this is the waist, because it's got like a top, like waist here, and then it flows down from like right underneath the breasts. And that's kind of where I did. So you can see like this is the top part and this is where it starts kind of flowing out, kind of. So I'm definitely excited to get back to her just because there'll be a lot more fun colors. I'm not really sure which way I'm going to go with these. When I pick it up, I'll see where inspiration strikes. But yeah, I definitely foresee myself doing a lot of progress on them. So I'm looking forward to seeing how much I do get done next year with this like seasonal stitching idea. I don't know. It's just a really great way, I think, to get progress on them. But to also have other projects, because these are definitely going to take some time. So it'll be nice to have it in a way where I can get a ton of progress on them, but not kind of leave other projects that I really do want to get done, especially since these are all new starts. I want to focus on getting some older projects done. But of course the last one is Summer Fairy. This is the one I received for my birthday this year. I probably worked on her the longest, and I got quite a bit done. I started in the middle, I worked into her dress, I even got a little bit of the wing. Yeah, I'm so excited, especially because these are some of my favorite colors. So yeah, you can see where her arm is going to go there. I kind of stitched around it. And I did not want to put her down, but I knew that the next day was October because I did work on her on the 30th as well. And I just wanted to make sure that I didn't get caught up and then didn't work on other things that I want to work on and finish. So yeah, so I will see her again in summer of 24, which seems like forever away, but as we know, time can get you, especially in the crafting world. Like, it's so normal, you know, to set goals like, oh, this will be done in a year or 2 years or whatever. And I feel like a lot of people have a hard time thinking long term like that. So I think that's definitely one advantage to cross stitching crafting in general, is that we kind of have a different view on time. The last kind of surprise start is Knock Knock by Prairie Schooler. I decided last minute to jump into Jessie Marie's Friday the 13th Sow. So here we are. This is my first Prairie Schooler. I'm not a super prim stitcher, but I feel like it's very hard to say like, I'm never going to stitch anything from XYZ genre, because there's just so much out there. It's easy to find one chart that's interesting or attractive, and for me that was this one. There are 3 others in this series, but the other ones didn't quite draw to me. I think there's another one that I like. I'd have to look it up. I don't even know the names. I know there's, actually I can remember 2 of the names. So it's Knock Knock, Who's There, which has Owl, so I think that's the other one that I liked. There's Double Double, which is a witch brewing, and then there's one other, and I don't remember which one, what it's called. But for now, I just started with this one. And what's interesting is if you look at this, it kind of looks like it's black and orange. Makes sense, it's Halloween, but it's not. It's DMC 3371, which is that dark espresso brown. And I see it as black and I can't unsee it, and I don't see myself stitching this in brown. So I decided to use black. I am not using DMC black. I'm using a kind of mystery floss. And I say that because there is a label on it. I can tell you what it is, but I've never heard of it and I've never seen it again. I got this from a big bag of floss that an aunt got for me at a thrift store. She saw it and thought of me and knew that I stitched, so she got it for me, which was super sweet. And it had like the black, it had a red, a pink, a light blue, a dark blue, a yellow, and I kind of think maybe it had green, but I'm not sure. And I don't have the bag on me. These was just said, like, I guess had spilled out and were like in my general drawer of floss. So like leftover floss. So I picked it up. I'm like, perfect, I'll use it for this. But it's ATCO's Silken art thread, 6 strands, mercerized cotton, 9 yards. So kind of what you expect any cross stitch floss to look like. It does feel a little bit kind of not great. But I think it's just because it was thrifted. I don't know what. So as I'm using it, I'm washing the skeins and it does feel a lot better after washing it. So I think I'm about to run out of battery, so I'm going to go change that real quick and I will continue momentarily. Hey guys, okay. Glad I averted that crisis and didn't record a bunch of stuff with no battery, because that would have not been fun. So anyway, I decided to use the black thread from the thrift store, wash it out, and I did also change the orange. So the orange here is a little bit on the dull side. It's DMC 921. I decided to use 946 because it's a little bit brighter. I do apologize about the lighting here. I don't have the best spot in the house as far as natural lighting goes, so I have to use my lamp, and like as I move things in and out, I just realized the light kind of changes a bit, so hopefully it's not too bad. But yeah, so I started this on Friday the 13th for the Sal, and this is where I got all of the top border done. And you guys, I have a talent, apparently, a talent to make an error in almost every single thing I stitch. I don't know how I do it. Like I just don't get it. But somehow I mess up. I'm not gonna say every single pattern, because I'm sure there's some things I've stitched that don't have a mistake, and a lot of times it's something tiny that doesn't matter anyway. But I somehow managed to make the border I made it the right size, but it ended up being too short because of how I placed the ghost. And I think part of it is because of the fabric I'm using. I'm using a 22 count hardinger, which kind of looks like Aida, but I know it's not officially Aida because of like the number of strands in each square or whatever. But anyway, kind of looks like Aida to me, so I usually think of it as Aida. But it just, when I stitch, I tend to stitch like one leg all the way across and then come back if it's something that's in a line. And I did that with the ghost and it looked like it was off. And so I took it out and I moved it a row lower. And I think it's just because it's so tiny that like when you stitch it, it almost like hides the next row. And I don't know, I guess I thought there wasn't enough space, so I moved it down, and I should have left it where it was. So the ghost is one row lower, which means the box wasn't, like if I were to stitch across, it wouldn't have a gap between the ghost and that bottom border there. So I ended up fudging it a bit, and you can barely tell. I just got to remember to mirror it on the bottom. So basically there's an extra stitch on the top here. But because it's stitched so small, I think you can barely tell. So yay, it worked out. And it actually worked out because the pumpkins, if you look on the chart, the pumpkins are touching the bottom and mine are floating because I have that extra row there. And I actually really, really like that. The other thing that I was hesitant with is I was going to do it on a linen like the pattern suggested, but I was looking through my scraps and I didn't really have anything. It was either a really big piece that I didn't want to cut up for something so small, or too small, or not the right color. So I ended up using this, and I am not super partial to 22 count because it's really hard to get the coverage I like. So 1 thread over 2, or 1 thread over 1, sorry, is way too thin. You can see way too much background, but 2 threads bulks up really fast, and so it's just hard. I think it would work best for me anyway, because I know for some people maybe it works perfect, is for something kind of like the sides here of the pattern, like something samplery or something with little motifs throughout, so there's space in between, because if you do a little stitching and then leave some space, it probably works out just fine and it doesn't get super bulky. But so I have this, like I said, the thrift store or whatever floss, and it's a little bit on the thin side, and I know DMC 310 is on the thin side too. A lot of people like using our Anchor Black because it's known to be thicker. Now, I don't know if all of you have heard, but DMC has now acquired Anchor, and I don't know if that means we're not going to have two different major threads anymore, like if DMC is going to take over and their process is going to be the same, or if they're still going to keep like the Anchor and like call it, I don't know, Anchor by DMC. I don't know. But it would be nice if we still had options, and maybe what we can get is a higher range of colors, because I feel like their formulas may be slightly different, so maybe they can get a few more colors in each color family, but I don't know if they would just like make it DMC and just expand the line. And then like nix the ones that are practically identical, or if they're still going to try and keep two different. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. I was in the process of getting a whole set of Anchor too, so I'll have to abominate what I have and see if there's any way I can get one, but I don't know if it'd be worth it anymore. So I guess I'll just bobbinate what I have and go from there. So yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, so this one is kind of thin, so it worked out well. And I don't know if DMC 310 would have been just as thin, but I feel like it wouldn't have, because I used it before on a story keep, Heaven and Earth story keep, that I tried to do on 22 count and very quickly realized this is bulking up way too fast. I don't like it. So yeah, and then I really noticed when I did the pumpkins, says the pumpkins are in a DMC, and I was like, whoa, that's like really, really bulky compared to the black. So the black is definitely thinner for sure, but I mean, that could be all the colors from that floss brand. So obviously I'm going to finish this out, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I have the, you know, whatever's left over from here, because like if this is the like the chart, or the like the width, the height maybe like to there. I feel like, I know I left a 2-inch on top, so, but I just didn't cut it because it was, you know, enough. So I don't know. I'll probably have enough left over to do another if I chose to do another, if the other one that I liked, maybe. If not, I'll just have it there for something. I do have, I think, one other piece of 22 count, but it's like cream. So maybe for something like a sampler, I might use it. But yeah, so that was my final start. And that is basically everything I have to share with you about as far as progress. I do have some stitchy acquisitions to share, but then I'll be wrapping the video up. No plans really to pull this out. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it. I'm thinking maybe I'll pull it out on the 13th of every month and do like dark 13 stitching. Definitely in October, but I don't know if I'm going to wait all the way till October to pull this back out, especially because it goes by relatively quick. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that house is probably going to take forever, but I guess we'll see. So yeah, let's move on. The dogs are working outside. It's not just neighbor's dog, really, because that's not our dog. But yeah, stitchy acquisitions, and then I'll be wrapping this up. So yeah. Alright, so for my last bit, I have my stitchy acquisitions purchases. These were actually all purchased with birthday money. I think I have everything in here. If I'm missing anything, I guess I'll show it next time. But I think this is everything that I hadn't already shown. So the first thing I got was these pony needles. They are just regular tapestry needles. It comes with 22 to 26 to 28 size. I don't know what I'd use the 22 for stitching. Like, I guess unless I decide to do a project on like 11 count or higher, which I don't see myself doing a lot of. I think I have one kit that came with 11 count Ada that maybe I would use it for. I know they're used also for needlepoint, which I don't really do. So I don't know if I'll get much use out of those. Maybe for knitting, or, you know, like if I'm trying to weave in ends of a very thin yarn, maybe. But I got them because Sheila mentioned them in her video, and I like the fact that the eyes are different colors, so then I know that 24s are purple, the 26 are teal, and the 28s are red. And I'm super excited about these. Then I happened to see these that, oh gosh, I can't think of the name. Oh my gosh. Now it's got me curious. But a brand, like a sewing brand here, like there's a version of these here, so I'm like, do they own Pony? Or did they like borrow their idea? I don't know. But if I do get a hold of those, I think I'm going to purchase them. These were kind of pricey because they do, you know, they came from the UK. I think they're made in India, but they came from the UK. I think that's what it is. So I'm kind of wondering now if these are just the exact same needles. I'll try to come across those other ones and maybe I'll have them for the next video. But I was really excited about these because I thought they were adorable and it would make it super easy to figure out which one is which honestly isn't that hard. I feel like sometimes I get confused with the 28 and 26 when they're just, you know, all silver. But it's not that hard to figure it out after. And also the eye of the 28 is a lot shorter. So that would be interesting to see if it does anything a little bit different. So very excited about those. I did also get a set of Nurge hoops. I really wanted the purple, but like these beige color ones were like $4 cheaper, and I was trying to stretch my birthday money. So since I was getting the set, I decided to get the beige ones. And maybe what I'll do, because I really am liking them, is I'll get my two most common sizes, which I expect is probably going to be the medium and the large. One in purple and one in blue. We'll see. Like individually they're around $10. I think the smaller ones are like $8 or $9. But as a set, it was definitely cheaper to get the set. So this is the large one. It's 280 millimeters. I think this ends up being the closest to like a 12, you know, an 11 by 11 Q-snap. And since that's my favorite size of Q-snap, maybe I'll use this more. But I actually haven't used it yet, so we shall see. I expect, like, usually the bigger the hoop, the harder it is to get the tension. But I think if you just keep playing with it and tighten it up right, it'll be fine. So this is the large. This is the medium, which is closest, most similar to like an 8 by 8 Q-snap, and I really like it. I showed it earlier with my project, and the tension works just fine. Then I have the small, which is about, I would say, the closest to a 6-inch Q-snap. And these are, I mean, this piece is 5 by 6, maybe 4 by 6. So anyway, that gives you an idea. So this is the small, and then the extra small is really tiny. I'm not sure what I would use on it on here. I think the only things I have that are these smaller Milko kits, and they're on perforated paper, so I like wouldn't put them on this. Maybe if I'm working on a section of a project. But again, the set was more affordable. It would have been just as expensive, if not more, to buy the 3 bigger sizes. So I just figured it's like an extra. So we'll see if I end up using these, but I really like them so far. They hold the tension really well. They remind me of quilting hoops. So you unscrew here, it goes in diagonally, and then kind of pull it apart so you can get the middle out just like a hoop. But then, I don't know if you can see that, there's that part that sticks out, and then on this end there's a groove that it goes in, which is kind of how quilting hoops work and how they keep the tension so tight on there. So yeah, I really like how they've worked so far. I got a little nervous because when I used the medium-sized hoop, I used it for the Prairie Schooler piece, the Knock Knock, which really is probably going to go better in this one. So whenever I get to it, I'll probably use this size Nurge hoop. But I had it on here because I wasn't sure. First of all, I didn't want to take that one out. But I figured, you know, this will be fine. I'll have the entire space available for me to stitch in. I won't be squishing anything. But I couldn't get the tension right, and I get the feeling it's more the fabric, because this one worked out just fine. And this is an Ada. This is an even weave. I just dropped one. Sorry. And it worked out fine. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal was with that. Maybe I just couldn't get the tension right. I don't know. The last thing is I decided to bite the bullet and get Woodland Enchantress, also by Ruth Sanderson, Dimensions Gold. This is officially not Winter Fairy, but she has that same style. So I'm really hoping there will be a Winter Fairy. But sometimes I'm like, is this it? Like, is this because it's a winter piece? Like, is this the one? But like I said, the average release date on those has been about every 3 years. And Summer Fairy was just released. So like if we see it and that pattern continues, that won't be till 2026. So I thought it would be fun to have this one be just a piece that I work on. And I don't know if I don't know if those white bits are French knots or not. Like these ones, I don't know if you'll be able to see them on here, like the snow up here and stuff. But Fall Fairy has beads, and so far none of the other ones do. So I think I'm going to try and find a place to stick beads on there just so they all have beads. But I'm going to use this basically as my winter piece. I think I mentioned this last time. Maybe? I'm almost sure I did. But anyway, I'm going to use this as my seasonal winter piece until maybe we get Winter Fairy. I mean, maybe I'll have this done by the time this comes out, especially if it comes out way sooner than 2026. But I thought it would be fun to have all four. And if maybe this is meant to be like the Winter Fairy, then it is. I mean, it's called Woodland Enchantress. It's not called Winter, but the original artwork, I believe, is called Winter. So that's kind of why I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, well, she doesn't have wings. But I think I mentioned this last time too. Like, I noticed that Fall Fairy doesn't have wings. Spring and Summer do, but Fall doesn't. So that would kind of also match. Which if there is a Winter Fairy and she has wings, then I'm going to be like, oh no, that's going to look weird. Because then Spring and Summer and Winter would have wings and Fall wouldn't have. So we'll see. Maybe this one is meant to be it. I don't know. I could be wrong. It's also very like Christmassy winter because you can see kind of the evergreen on her dress and the poinsettias there. But I mean, I guess that's not necessarily Christmassy. We just associate it with Christmas. It could be wintry. So anyway, I might start her sometime soon just to have her ready and then work on her all of winter. Because if I wait till December 21st, I don't know. It might be nice to like start her beforehand and just like kind of like with the other fairies, like dedicate a couple hours and have a decent amount of progress, and then when I pick her up December 21st, it'll be like kind of like the other ones when they come into play in their seasons, they'll already be started. So I've been thinking I might do that. I just haven't gotten around to it because it's only October and because I'm focusing on my stocking. So yeah, I guess we'll see. But that is the last purchase I have to share with you, and that wraps up this video. I was thinking about sharing knitting this time around, but because I'm doing this video on a different day than I expected, I was going to do this Wednesday, but I just was not feeling that great. I just ended up being a little longer than I thought. So I think I'm going to save it for next time. If not, maybe I'll do like a Flosstube extra or something. I don't know. I'm sure I can throw it into a video, but for now, I really want to keep up with the cross-stitching updates, so I think I'm going to leave it here. Thank you for coming in to check in with me, to check where I am with my stitching, to see my progress and my finishes. It's always fun to share that with you guys. I will try my best to link things that I mentioned down below. So like the Facebook groups for the acrostics, I'll link those down below. I'll put the hashtag for the Friday the 13th style if that's something that you still want to participate in. Including Jessie's Instagram tag because she would like to see everybody that participated in. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. So thank you so much for coming in and checking and spending time with me. And I will see you all next time. Bye.